Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have an interesting video for you. Of course, there's been tons of Seiko SARB Alpinist reviews out there. I recently did an ultimate strap guide. Of course, there's the release of the Blue Alpinist limited edition, which, you know, of course, had its own drama and hype all around it. I've spoken in length on that. But this particular video is going to be a bit more of kind of my thoughts on if you should buy one now, today in 2019, depending on when you're watching this. Is this still a watch that's worth its current market value, which is in between $400 to $500. This originally was something you could get under 400, you know, closer in between $300 and $350. And now prices, of course, have skyrocketed quite a bit. And, you know, that's a big turnoff for a lot of people. I'm not one of them. I actually bought this watch pretty late, kind of in the hype. And I'm glad that I did. And I'm glad I didn't wait until it got more expensive. Now, a little bit about the brand. This is, of course, Seiko. They were founded back in 1881. They're Japanese in origin, and they have factories throughout Asia. They cover all market segments from entry level to high end. Now, this particular type of watch, when you're looking for something like this, I consider it an everyday watch. Some key common characteristics and design language. When you're looking for an everyday watch, you're probably going to want a really versatile blend of sporty and dressy attributes, which this watch has in spades. The Alpinist is infinitely versatile, and is especially in the blue dial model, which I'll pull into frame here and a little bit later on in the review. But in this model, it's still really quite versatile, even though I don't wear a lot of green and I sure don't wear a lot of gold. This is just the right amount of pop on as far as like the color and the color play. I think it's just really wonderful. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay. So this particular watch, of course, is part of the Alpinist line, which dates all the way back to 1961, and it is essentially Seiko's version of an adventurer's watch. Now, this line has been extended out quite far, and right now these watches are trending in between $400 and $500, closer to $500 these days. As far as the case size goes, the funny thing about this is it's been very openly reported as a 38 millimeter diameter, but it really depends on kind of where you measure it from. And because of this case with this extra crown there, when you're measuring, some people get it larger, some people get it smaller, closer to a 39. Some say 39 and a half. When I measured it, I'd say it's probably a 39 and a half. But you could really even say that this is a 40 millimeter watch. The reason why people kind of agreed that it was smaller is because of the dial size, because it's crunched down quite a bit with, you know, that slide compass there. It makes the watch appear smaller. It wears smaller and whatnot. Of course, it has all the tricks of the trade when it comes to Seiko, as far as shrinking on your wrist. And visually, it wears a little bit smaller because of the dial proportions. So that's one thing to be said about that. One thing that isn't an argument is that this thing is about 12 millimeters thick, which actually isn't too shabby, especially when you consider that this watch is actually wider than 38 millimeters, so it actually balances the thickness out quite well. It has a 46 millimeter lug to lug. It is, of course, brushed and polished everywhere. Stainless steel. It has a flat sapphire crystal. It has that inner bidirectional slide bezel, which is great, which is powered by this crown here at the 4 o'clock. And then you do have the screw down crown there signed to operate the movement and whatnot. Now, the indices are, of course, applied. The dial is really quite gorgeous. It is actually a sunray dial, but it has kind of a matte top coat. And depending on what angle you look at it, you might see it as more matte or you might see it as more sunray. When you look at it straight on, you're probably going to see more of the sunray. When you look at it more a little closer at an angle, you'll see a bit more of that kind of matte top coat. So it can be a little bit confusing and definitely threw off a lot of people when it came to their new release with the blue model here, where it just kind of read as either being more flat than they were expecting or more sun ray. So as you can see, pretty much the same watch here, just a different color motif. So there's not too much there. The case backs are a little bit different here. Of course, it's limited, and it's more of kind of a chemical etch, versus here it's more of an actual kind of engraved etching with, as you can see, the Alpinist logo and whatnot with the various specs on there. Also, just to mention, this is a really nice crown and buckle chevron nylon strap, which is, you know, it's kind of an evolution on a nylon and a purlon kind of put together to equal something that is just honestly just feels really luxurious, especially when you take a look at the finishing. Here you have side polishing with the top brushing, which is great, and I think ties in really well for this particular model and many watches, of course, that have that particular play to them. This thing is just fully loaded. It's 200 meters water resistant as well, so this thing can, you know, get dunked in the bottom of a lake and still be good to go, which is wonderful. You know, so you guys have heard tons of good things about this watch and tons of other reviews. Let me get it on wrist to kind of sell you guys on why it's still a good idea in 2019. Okay, as you can see on my 7¼ inch wrist, this thing wears just about perfect. You get a little bit close up, you can see normally the lens distortion will make something look huge. Here it still doesn't even look huge, it just wears beautifully. And on my 7¼ inch wrist, this thing, even with a bit of material underneath it between me and my wrist, it wears really beautifully. And I think that's the thing that really sets this watch apart from a lot that's on the market right now. It's super capable, so I mean it's infinitely capable when you think about it. It's 200 meters water resistant. It has a sapphire crystal. This thing, you can take it into the sky, you can take it under the water, you can take it, of course, for a trek across the land, and it's gonna be perfect for you. And it's so small, it's just really unobtrusive, and it's just a classic size, classic fit. It's everything. It's everything you're looking for in a day-to-day adventurer's watch. This thing, when you look at it, it can be dressed up a bit. Of course, you know, on this, you know, more high-end nylon strap here with a beautiful texturing. It's a gorgeous piece. And, you know, it really can't be denied that this is a great watch. And the funny thing is so many people called it the best watch under $500 for so long until they started charging actual $500 for it. And by they, I don't mean Seiko, because you guys have never been buying these from Seiko. You've been buying them from dealers. All right, you're not buying directly from Seiko when you're getting great deals on these. That's just the nature of the beast, and we're so used to that secondary market and taking advantage of that yen rate exchange that we've been getting great deals and steals. But now that these are becoming more rare and, you know, more widely popularized, supply and demand has come into play, and people are charging more. Not Seiko, dealers are, because they can sit on inventory for a little bit because people are willing to pay, because this is an outstanding watch. Even at $500, I'd say even at $600, especially considering the blue model sold for $600. And it really was, there was no improvements made besides the fact that it's blue now, as making it more versatile as far as to wear. And honestly, I could probably wear this watch every day, and it could go with really 90%, 95% of what's in my closet, versus this, which is probably going to go with about 5% because it's green. I think honestly they could have sold this watch for more, 750, $800, $1,200, and people would have probably still bought the hell out of it. But that's another story. As far as the standard SARB though, I think it's still a great buy at $500. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's that special. I obviously took a long time to kind of buy into the hype, even with the other SARBs, the SARB 035 and 033. I saw videos. It was hard for them to sell me on that watch. I even thought they were a little small until I bought, my father-in-law a SARB 035, and man, that thing scored. I should know it was a 33, the black dial. Thing's gorgeous. And I was just like, man, I'm still honestly considering buying a 35, the white dial, even though I kind of have the high-end, more limited version of it, which is the SCVS001, which essentially is an earlier, kind of more limited variant of that model, except it has more of a creamy dial with gilt indices and whatnot. Not too different than the ones we'll find here, and it has actually a really cool bracelet option, which definitely check out my channel history if you want to see a review on that piece. But honestly, I was a little late to that train too, and I lucked out. I was able to get it at a very reasonable price. And these watches are something special about them. If I was working at Seiko USA, honestly, I would reissue these things in tons of different colors. Or just black. Just pretty much the same thing. Silver, right? And just do it in black, so it's even more versatile than this blue one, this special one. Do it in a silver dial, or do it in a black dial. Release it, even maybe a white dial if you want. Essentially, obviously, I wouldn't want them to re-release something that was out before, because then it kind of ruins it for those collectors. But yeah, I think a black dial model of this one, or a slate kind of dial, would be outstanding as kind of a reissue. And they could just sell the crap out of it. But, Seiko's not huge on that. They wait a few years before they reissue things. They kind of let you forget how great certain watches were before they bring them back. And I think right now you can still really appreciate this original model. And as far as I know, these were still in production not too long ago, towards the end of 2018. So you can still get newer ones with upgraded movements and whatnot, as far as, the different iterations of the 6R15. But with all that said, let's go ahead and close this down with some low light transition and some loom shots. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Of course, this thing isn't a big loom beast, although it is 200 meters water resistant. It's not a dive watch by any means, but let's go ahead and get some low light transition, because although my hot studio lights do a great job of simulating direct sunlight, that's not where you're always going to have your watch. You may have it indoors, you might have it in your vehicle, you might not be under the brightest of light situations. So what I like to do is simulate some of the lower light. Oh, and as you can see there, more matted. You see that? More matte, and then when it's in that kind of direct, oh, there, now it's looking more sunburst. Interesting. That's crazy, right? It looks purely sunburst. Kind of, maybe if I hit it at an angle. Yeah, that's killer. You can see the way the light plays off of the finishing. Very nice, uniform and fine brushing there on the tops of the lugs. The way that the this green dial can go very much into some black tones, then other times into the really beautiful bright green. This is just a fine piece, guys. So, closing thoughts on the wrist. It has that really sporty yet compact wear, which is hard to find. This is a watch I'd say that is very akin to steel Rolex watches, whether it be something like an Oyster Perpetual or a Rolex Explorer. It fits that kind of everyday adventure ready watch. It doesn't have too much to it. Of course, it does have that slide bezel, which gives you some extra fun little complication there. As far as comparable models go, and you know, in line of things that are a little bit more comparable price wise, you're thinking Zen 556. Pretty expensive, but it also has 200 meters of water resistance. You know, they have sunburst style options and whatnot. You can get on bracelet, you can do it in straps, and it's, you know, it's a competent watch in the same respects. The Glycine Airman 18 would also be a nice comparison. 200 meters of water resistance, but it's a GMT complication there, so that gives you a little bit of fun. Or maybe even from a micro brand, something like the Notice Contrail 39, where you're gonna have, again, 200 meters of water resistance, sapphire, stainless steel, a bit of a strap monster, and it kind of fits in that same space as far as being just an everyday, overly built, overly capable, yet extremely stylish piece that really just checks all of the boxes. You know, bottom line, this thing is a bona fide classic, and it's the fact that it's still available in limited numbers is amazing, and it's still really a value in the $500 range. So to put it plain and simply, yes, in 2019, I think it's still a good buy. If you want this watch, you should buy it. If you're just watching this like, hey, what's this random video? Maybe you shouldn't buy the watch, all right? There's other things bang per buck. There's other stories to be told, other watches to be bought. If you've always wanted this watch and you've been holding off and you're kind of upset that now it costs more, just buy it before it's gone, because at one day it's going to be like a $1,400 watch, all banged up and used. So buy it now when you can get it for, you know, $480. And have it brand new out of the box. I think you really enjoy it. I've enjoyed it. That's kind of my story. You guys know my watch journey. I have so many different watches that I've collected along the way. I've gone through tons of different phases where I was buying very exclusively kind of Orients and Seikos in the lower end, worked my way up, started buying micros, just kind of dropped off from Seiko, started buying, you know, some entry-level kind of Swiss watches, mid-tier, pretty heavily, and then back into micro brands. And now I'm just really appreciating Seiko again. So it's a cyclical thing. It's just, it keeps coming back around, and Seiko keeps finding new and exciting ways to entice me. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.